Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Michelle, an ENFP, if you have not seen me before, though many of you have. Today, I wanted to talk about particularly my personal work experience and how it affected me, what I liked, what I didn't like, and how it helped me grow with the weaknesses in my personality for each job. So, let's just dive right into the subject. Let's start first with my very first job. Now, if you personally know me, you know that I, throughout all of high school, said I was never gonna work at a place like McDonald's. But lo and behold, that was my first job. I did work at McDonald's for about 5 months, and I told them I was gonna quit very soon. Since the first day I started, I told them this is not what I want to do. I'm not going to be here very long. But here's the things that I liked and the things that I didn't like. One thing that I really liked is the fast-paced nature of McDonald's. Like, you do not have time to sit around. It's move, 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 move all day, especially morning shifts. And I preferred to have morning shifts because they stayed busier, whereas night shifts could be quite boring. So my favorite thing was to work the register for the drive-through. Not so much for the front, because the front wasn't quite as fast, it wasn't quite as fast-paced, and there wasn't as much multitasking. Whereas when you work the drive-through window, you had to take orders and take money at the same time and hold two different conversations. Now, of course, you want to have a little bit of difference between the two conversations. You take some time with one customer, some time with another. But that was really exciting for me because I could take their order out there, hear them a little bit, and then see them in real life when they came to pay. And I made a few friends actually that way, not like friends that I hung out with outside of McDonald's, but you know what I mean. Like, I enjoyed their presence. We had some good conversations in as little as you can when you only have a minute, maybe maximum, to talk to them. It was a lot of fun to get their orders and help them make decisions and really find the most efficient and cheapest way to order whatever they wanted. Like, I literally, doesn't matter what they were ordering, I would find the cheapest way to work that out for them. They could order something crazy and I'll rework it so it's cheaper for them. And I'll tell them, I'll be like, hey, so it sounds like you're ordering this, I'm gonna move it around like this so you pay this price instead of this price. So I'm sure people liked me because of that, because I could do very well at switching that around. I would say that that job also helped me get out of depression, because before then, I didn't go to school or work for at least 4 months, and I was quite depressed, lonely, didn't know what to do with my life, and working at this job really helped me get a social life. Not that I stayed friends with really anyone except for one person, but it really helped build my social life, so I really like that. What I didn't like, the repetitive nature. What I didn't like, the people that worked there that were so full of themselves and thought they were the best things in sliced bread. That was really hard to be around. And also, the level of education of the people that I worked with was really difficult to be around. And I've gotten used to it as I've grown older, getting used to working with people who have less education, and I've actually had to dial back my vocabulary, and I think I'm losing some of it because of my lack of being around educated people. It's getting better now that I've moved up in my position, but there are still a lot of uneducated people, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being undereducated. I'm just saying I had to really watch what I was saying, because I would say things that they would be like, what do you mean? Like, what does that word mean? And then they wouldn't hear my point because all they could hear are the words that they didn't know. So that was something that really was difficult for me, and I had to work to overcome. So my next job started about a month after I quit that job, and I started at Office Depot, and I worked in the copy and print center, and this was one of my favorite jobs that I've had. My boss was a very much so direct, in your face, you did this wrong, fix it kind of person, and he, for some reason, though he was mean to everybody else, he was like almost afraid to be mean. I think I have something about me where people think I'm too sensitive and I can't handle feedback, but I would always be like, tell it to me straight, please. I want honest, direct feedback. I want to be better. I don't want to be somebody that you're like feeling frustration with and don't ever say anything. So as the relationship grew at that work, he became more and more honest with me, and I worked there about 10 months, I believe. And the reason that I quit is it wasn't very flexible, didn't work with my schedule, and I liked my other job better. And something that I really liked about working in the copy and print center was being creative, because I got to help people design business cards, logos, labels. I had to really do a lot of critical thinking. It was really fast-paced at times and other times really slow. So I got to both focus on the details, which is really nice. Any of you guys know this, ENFPs have a little ISTJ in them who just really wants everything to be perfect and beautiful and exacting, and I really liked making like spiral bound notebooks and binders and like I really liked punching the holes for the spirals and putting in the spires and twisting. It was just really satisfying when it came out clean and perfect. And actually, fun fact, I met one of my future best friend's dad at that job, but I had no idea that I would soon meet his daughter. But anyway, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. While I was working at Office Depot the last 4 months, I started at Starbucks. And Starbucks was a really, really great experience for me. Definitely people thought I was a little bit bitchy. Excuse my language for those of you who weren't expecting that. And the reason being is I knew the right way to do things, and I would tell people like, hey, here's how you can do it better. And I was meaning it in a kind of, here, let's help you be better kind of way, but it was coming across as, you suck, you need to do this better. And I've learned a lot from that job because it taught me how to, develop my FE and make sure that I don't offend people when I give them critical feedback. So that was really beneficial. Again, fast-paced. I loved that. I loved that in the window at Starbucks, you have like 3 minutes to get an order out from the time they order at the window to the time that they grab their drink from the window. And you have to keep them engaged in conversation while they're there. You can't just close the window on them, though there were people who did that. I didn't believe in that. You had to keep the window open and stay in a constant conversation, which I've also built a lot of relationships that way. Not long lasting, but I've had some really cool conversations. And the one thing that I didn't like, cleaning. Starbucks has a very rigorous cleaning system, and you do it like every week. There are certain tasks weekly, certain tasks daily, and there were some that I just hated doing, like cleaning the fridges. Like, oh my god, you have to pull everything out of the fridge, wipe it all down, put it all back, and you have to do it quickly because you can't leave the milk out too long. I did not like that part very much, but I really liked when it was busy, and I loved being on the register when it was really busy and having those conversations, and I liked being on the bar when it was really busy. However, they definitely saw my strength as being on the register because I have a gift of gab, which really helped the customers not feel like it was taking too long. And when I was doing drinks and trying to talk, I couldn't do that. So they would choose other people who could do both. And I think a lot of that is you need practice making the drinks and talking in order to get good at that. But I never really had enough practice to. Anyway, I worked there about 1.25 years, and then I started my job at the hotel. And actually, the whole reason I got this job is because one of my regulars was a pair of guys. So 2 of my regulars, they came in together every time. One was the assistant manager of the hotel, and the other was the HR manager of the hotel. And I'm pretty sure Jason and Daniel, but don't quote me on that, something like that. Anyway, they were like, hey, we're looking for front desk people. Do you want to come work for us? And they were like, you can make more money. And my other option was to move up and become a shift lead at Starbucks, and I was like, I don't know if I want that kind of responsibility because it's only like $1 more an hour and not really rewarding for the effort that you have to put in. So I took the interview, and I got the job like instantly. They really liked me, and I like that job because it taught me how to deal with negative people. And it also taught me the gift of half listening. Now, I also think that this could be a problem later on in life, but it taught me how to give attention without being involved in the story, if that makes sense. Because I used to be the kind of person that when you're talking to me, I am fully listening to you and absorbing everything that you have to say. And working at the hotel, you get a lot of angry customers who are angry about whatever the reason is. And I had to learn how to not take offense, and one of the ways that I did that was by half listening. So that was a really important skill that I learned there that really benefited me later on, and I'll talk about that. Things that I didn't like is that it was really boring. There were a lot of times when there was nothing to do, so you were just playing Candy Crush. Yes, when things are boring and slow, your front desk agent is probably on Facebook. I'm just saying. They didn't really care so long as, you closed it when a customer came over, or a guest, and that was something you had to learn. Nobody's a customer, everybody's a guest, and I just failed. So that was a good job. I worked there a year. I really liked, I got to know some really great people at that job. Specifically, there were a lot of Ethiopians that worked there, and they were our bus drivers. They would take the shuttle from the hotel to the airport, and they were mostly Ethiopian. I learned some Ethiopian phrases. I learned a lot about the Ethiopian culture, and I just made some good friends with adults. Here I am making friends with people that are much older than me instead of people my own age. Sounds typical. So that job was really good. Really boring though, and that's kind of why I quit, because I really didn't like being bored so much. So my next job was to work at a restaurant that was my favorite restaurant since I moved to Denver. And all these jobs were in the Denver metro area. So I've pretty much known about this job the entire time that I've had a job almost. And it was like a dream come true to work for this place. I had been there so many times, I knew the people that worked there, and finally I was gonna be one of the people working there. It was fantastic. It's called Waffle Brothers in Denver. If you ever go to Denver, you should definitely check it out, because the best waffles ever. But that job taught me a lot about myself. It was a very introspective job. I worked with some really great people. In the location that I worked at the last year, I really got to know these people, and it was very fulfilling to get to know them. They were really great people. We had deep conversations about psychology, philosophy, society, and the customers were great. I had a lot of really great one-on-one conversations with my customers. My boss encouraged us to go out and sit with our customers and have conversations with them when it's a little slower. If you don't have a crazy line, go out and sit with your customers. I had two positions that I was best at. One was the sandwich line, because I was very efficient and kept things clean, and I could do it really quickly. I was not as good at making waffles because the waffle person has to direct the whole kitchen, and I wasn't so good at directing everybody, but I could really focus on my tasks and get them done very efficiently and very well. And I was incredibly good, and this was my best position. I was one of the best tip makers because of this. I was very good at being on the register during a rush. Because during a rush, our philosophy was, don't just put as many people through as possible, because then they're going to be mad that they're waiting so long for their food. So instead, you find a balance between them waiting in line and waiting for their food. So I would take orders and make their drinks and give them their drinks and have a conversation with them with each and every customer that came through, which really taught me a lot about dealing with different kinds of personalities and getting to know them and developing with them and seeing their growth, and it just taught me to be a better communicator. And I learned how to unlearn that listening without really listening thing that I learned at the hotel. I learned how to listen again. That was really beneficial. Things that I didn't like is there were a lot of miscommunications, and like the openers and closers would get angry at each other and all this stuff. Um, but I was that person that was like, we need a meeting with the whole kitchen. And I would organize meetings between everyone, and I would talk to everybody and try to get everyone on the same page. I kind of tried to act as a mediator and a peacekeeper. Not sure if that's my personality or being a middle child or both. But I always wanted to mediate and make everything good and make everything flow and make us all comfortable with each other, because I hated tension in the kitchen. Of course, some of that tension was caused by me, but these meetings helped me get it out and express it and make sure that the kitchen was running really smoothly. I wouldn't say I wanted to run the kitchen. I didn't want to be the manager by any means, but I wanted to be like the HR manager in a way. Like, I wanted to make sure we were all copacetic. Copacetic? Copacetic. Is it a TH or not? I don't know. Whatever. That job was really great. Really, really great. Developed me a lot as a person, philosophically and personally. It was just really great for me. Then I moved. Me and my boyfriend packed up. We moved all around the country until we found a place to sit down and stay. And I will make a video on that whole move experience, because we went from Denver to Chicago to Memphis to Knoxville to Portland. And we ended up in the greater Portland area. We lived there about a year and a half. And there I worked at a restaurant because I kind of needed a job fast. Like, I just needed a job. If I didn't, we would be homeless. So I just got a job and started working. And I was good. And there were just so many people there. It was a much bigger kitchen, a lot more people. And I actually worked with an ENTP and an ISFP most of the time. And they were so great. I really liked being around both of them for different reasons. And it really helped me learn about personality. I wrote my first novel while I worked at that job. I learned a lot about myself and my own personality at that job and developed that. And I started my YouTube channel while I worked there. So these were really great milestones that happened at that job, though the job itself was really just, I was a prep cook basically. And I was good at any position that you put me in, but I preferred to prep and not be in the chaos. Because prepping, I had to move fast, I had to be efficient, I had to find the best way to make everything as quick as possible, but also as high as quality as possible. Whereas the ENTP that I worked with, his goal was not as best as possible, it was purely as quick as possible. And I'm like, just because you're like 10 seconds faster than me doesn't mean that you're better, because these things look uneven. And that's probably the little ISTJ in me that just wants everything to be perfect and exact, and I need it. But that brings me to my most recent job, which is the job that I'm working at now. It's actually really interesting how it started, because my boyfriend got a job there about a month and a half before me. It's a work from home job, call center kind of stuff. And he worked for the tech support side. And when I got my job, I got the sales side. And I was really uncomfortable with the idea of doing sales. I didn't think that would be for me. But I started learning there, taking the training, and my trainer, who I now actually work with really closely, she was so cool. She's an ENFJ, and there was an ENTP in my class and an ENTJ, and we all got along really well. And I learned a lot about communication from that job, how to communicate effectively and get your points across when you're in a one-on-one conversation that went beyond just selling things. Now, it was really important to learn those selling skills, and I did really well on the floor. And actually, I did so well that I was the top salesperson in under a month. In under a month, guys. Like, literally a month. Which I was also helping people out in chat, and people thought I was a team manager because of the kinds of things I would say and help people with in chat. My goal was just helping them, but I stood out quickly. And I quickly moved, like within 2 months of being on the floor, I was moved up to a different position, a quality analyst. And I was helping with people in the post-training, like the kind of nesting period, and I was listening to calls and evaluating them, and I was coaching people. They took away the ability to coach, but I found a way around that. Around December that year, so 6 months after I became a QA, I started this like weekly news broadcast with my friend, and it started out just being like very news-like, but then we started making parodies. Like we made a Star Trek parody. It was a lot of fun, and we did like a sock puppet show, just some really great stuff. And it was funny, engaging, and it taught people, and as we developed it, we started making like team meeting notes, and we were just helping everybody have more fun and enthusiasm at their job. And when spring came around, that's like our ramp up season, because people are all buying during the summer and fall to prepare for school and Christmas. So last April I became a trainer, and this even further helped develop my ability to communicate, my ability to use less filler words and to think more carefully about what I'm saying. And it's just been really beneficial. It's taught me organizational skills. I've been able to learn a lot about different personalities. Like, I literally made every single person in my classes take the personality test. I didn't require it, but I was like, hey guys, come on, do it. And my first class had like 7 ENFJs. 7 ENFJs. It was crazy. And you could tell they were all ENFJs because they were the ones answering all the questions. They were the ones thinking about how everyone would feel about things. Like, they just were all pretty stereotypical ENFJs, and it was really great to have them in my classes. And it was a really great experience to learn the organizational skills and the management skills that I learned. And now, since that season is done, since about September, I've been doing back office kind of work, which is purely dealing with spreadsheets, which at first I was like, you guys really want me doing a spreadsheet job? Me. Like, when there are people here who would kill to be doing spreadsheets all day, you're gonna ask me. But I took it, and I'm really glad that I did, because it's helped me learn more about how the whole business goes together. It's helped me figure out ways that we can improve the paperwork to make it easier for people like me who, when I was a trainer, didn't really know how to do anything, making the processes more simplified and more efficient. And I worked very closely with an INTJ. That was a lot of fun, and it's just been really beneficial to have this job that I'm at now. I can't really tell you too much because I just had it. I mean, September to December, it's not been very long, but we'll see how it goes as it progresses. Maybe I'll tell you guys more about how all that's going. But yeah, that's just kind of like a basic breakdown of all my jobs, and I know that's a lot, but I think it really shows a lot about my personal development and how these jobs have helped me overcome certain weaknesses as an ENFP. Specifically TE bluntness. I've worked on that. I've worked on my FE abilities. I've learned to take things less personally. I've learned more about what my strengths actually are, and I've really gotten to know a lot of people who have impacted my life significantly and made me better of a person. And I hope that I impacted their lives too, but I mean, that you can't really know fully. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Tell me about your work experiences down below, or if you post a video, I would be very excited to hear about your work experiences. And until next time, have a beautiful, amazing, wonderful day. Bye.